here is actually that's our live feed. This laptop is displaying it, so it's gonna be delayed.
All right, we're back, and welcome back for session 3 of our AV conference Q&A stuff. And during session 3, we are going to talk about operations and crew needs for a variety of situations. There are a couple of questions on the live
Hope they
chat that I
model your
want to
t-shirt.
talk about before I jump into that because I did not see them
Wait just a
earlier.
second.
And these come from Mr. Perkins. And so let's answer those real quick. He asked, if you had to replace everything today, how much would you expect to have to spend? If I had to replace everything today, I would retire. That is the correct answer for that one right there.
Hot robbers.
Probably if I were going to give you a rough estimate, everything that's on that camera stack, the manned operator camera stack.
Well, and we priced it out because we hid one somewhere and we hadn't found it yet. But that camera case and everything that goes in it's about $4,500.
Yeah, so I mean it's close to $5,000 per manned camera.
And then
I would have a heart attack. Just so you know.
I would also add, though, like, I get that question asked all the time in Missouri. Like, this was me getting stuff over like 6 to 8.
oh yeah, you got to build it.
It's not like I just built it overnight and had $200,000 just go drop and say, here's everything I had. So that's one thing, especially the schools that are, especially smaller schools, just trying to get going. Like, well, how do you do this and this and this? And I'm like, well, I didn't do this, 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 and that. I started out with one camera, got an announcer, then got a scoreboard, and then started going up to where I've now got 6 to 8 cameras per game.
So probably to answer that question for anyone who's listening, if I had to start over right now, I would go on Amazon. I would get one of those $200 little handy cams. I would get a small little mixer. I'd have my laptop. I would use OBS, and I could probably get back in the game for under 500 bucks. And then, like you said, in Jordan from Missouri, yes, that's what I would start with. That's a great question. Now, he asked, how many staff members do you use on your different productions? And the short answer is 2. We're the only 2 staff members. We do have a staff member of sorts at the middle school campus, but he's not necessarily doing the same stuff we're doing, but he does online news and things like that with our kids down there. And just this year, we were able to add a middle school AV principals class, and they come over here, they get bussed over here so I can teach them, and then they go back to their middle school. And it's beautiful because our middle school is right next door to us, and you guys in Beaumont, you probably got 4 or 5 feeder schools coming through there, or maybe even more than that. Okay. So the
Yeah.
logistics for you guys, that would be much harder to coordinate at those large
Let me
school
jump in on
levels.
that. We talked about funding earlier, CT funding. It's weighted funding. This is a Texas thing. I don't know how it works in the other states, but the higher or more advanced the class, the more funding you get per student. So what we tried to do is push the intro classes down to the junior high level, so when they come over here, they're already into a second or third year class, and that helps on the funding side. And a lot of times the admin people, I don't know, your CTE director comes into play. They don't really know how much funding you're generating because they don't look at it, but make sure you're getting your fair share if you have those kids in your program. I know you mentioned they had some money for you because every kid you have in that seat, you're getting 1.6 or whatever times daily allotment for them.
So that's a beautiful question. The other question that they're asking is, how many students do we have? So finally, the 2 of us have multiple sections of things. I have the AV2, AV1, and then a principal's class, but it's all kind of rolled into one class period. So I've got about 30 kids, but they're in 3 different sections, which kind of works out well because of what we do. So I've got my intro kids who are doing one activity, and then my advanced kids are doing the live stuff, and they're doing my goal
Kind of like
them-
mentors.
Yeah, right. So my goal for them is to do at least half of the week doing some sort of programming. Right now, we have them on the live stream stuff for the sports, and then we've got the puppet show that we do every week. And then for the intro kids, I'm teaching them at the same time. This week we started on audio mixing, and then last semester they were learning about how to put the cameras together and the different components and how to get the rule of thirds and all those other filming sorts of things down.
And then you have the photography classes as well.
And then that's the best part of the component is the photography aspect. So I teach 3 sections of commercial photography. And again, going back to that money thing, that has been beautiful for our program. And then carrying on, I think the last question asked if it's a series of courses or if it's just club extracurricular only.
Well, I'll jump in on that
Okay.
because I think you answered the first half. We start out in the principles and AV 1 and 2, and then I teach the practicum. I know y'all mentioned, some of y'all taught that as well. Practicum gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can do. You could have the students employed somewhere, or like what we do. I teach business and AV, so we combine the two, and we teach what's called the practicum of entrepreneurship class. So that gives us the flexibility for them to create something or do something or work either in business or in AV or photography. I've got 2 different groups going right now. On the business side, we have what they call the sweatshop. Somebody asked earlier, that's where we make t-shirts and we market them to the students. And that's where we get some funding from doing the t-shirts. And then I've got a couple on the photography side. They're helping out with yearbook, taking pictures, looking at doing photo sessions, outside of school. And then on the video side, I've got a group that decided on their own they wanted to do a weekly or almost weekly podcast. It's one of those, looks like TikTok or something. I don't even get what they're doing, but that's why he didn't have microphones this morning, because he took the microphones to do a shoot this weekend. I was like, where's our mics? He took them. But it's neat to see the desire of the kids to want to create something for their friends to watch and to make it quality. And week 1 I tell them, well, that's garbage. Don't get your feelings hurt. Who wants to watch that? But they fix it and they make it better. And each week I think we find something better to fix or add to what they're doing. So this semester we got a new restaurant in town. I don't know if you've seen Liberty, but it's not a lot of ethnic diversity, but we have a Japanese sushi place. And most people around here don't know what that is or don't want to go there, but they actually have good steaks and seafood too. So I sent the guys over there to talk to the owner, and they're going to do a restaurant review and a commercial for them. So just to get out there on Facebook, get in the community, and then more than likely he'll be a sponsor on our live stream this spring for softball. So it's we're not charging them anything to do it. It's their project, but something comes out of it, and he may work with us in the future. So it's that community involvement. So that's what they do in practicum. So anywhere from learning how to work something to learning how to turn it into a business and make a living doing it.
And then what I'll do, we had another question about the course and curriculum. Because we started kind of from
we use
scratch,
ICEV.
We do use the ICVE, but for me, I like to build my own. And so I use that somewhat. He uses it a lot. I kind of built my own. I found some online digital resources, and then I went through the TEKS list and kind of figured it out through there. But we'll share all of that on. I'll put it in the description for the video. Once I'll go back and do that. So if you're looking for some of that stuff, you can find it. Yes. EduLaunch? Okay. I'm not familiar with that. What is EduLaunch? Okay. Okay.
Oh, is that something the district purchased for you guys? Or?
So EDU launch. Okay. So again, I'm not familiar with that, but it's working for our friends in Beaumont. Okay.
So it has, for the AV side, it has Premiere, it has Adobe After Effects.
So more of the software and using the software.
And what it is basically like, you buy a book that gives you the discs, say these are the videos you need to go with this lesson. And when you go to that Edge Launch, the stuff you need to download at the top right, you download it, and then you just follow it along. And
you could have told me that sooner, but
It's like a million times better than what I was gonna use them on. And so it's really helpful, especially for like beginner. Like you can put somebody in the class that don't even know Premiere Pro and just say, hey, just follow along with the video, and because it has a guy narrating it. Come to find out, there's actually a guy out of Houston. He made the website. It's so I was like, man, I wish I could have had that idea and sold it to him. He's like 750 for a license.
yeah. So
Nice.
for those of you online that maybe couldn't hear, he's talking about a program, a company called Edu Launch, or a website that's got some software things. And I'm going to touch to jump off of that. Has anybody ever heard of in Texas? Again, maybe different for you, but industry-based certifications. Has that term came up at all? Yeah. So that's a big push now. And why is that a big push? Bonus funding, bonus money. Yeah. So we found for business and entrepreneurship, we're doing the project management. I found a program to do that, and for AV, we are doing a Photoshop, and we found a what's it called, Jasper? I don't know. It's
Jasper
something we bought,
Interactive.
but it's a plug-in for Photoshop and actually walks them through the lessons in Photoshop as they do them, and hopefully we'll get some people passing the test this year.
That's our school. We're doing all the Adobe, and we just quit doing that now this past year, past Christmas. We moved this to not.
Yeah, we looked into that. Isn't that what you did, the Nocti test? Yeah, how's that going? We're talking about testing now. A company called Nocti.
Experience. Like if you're comfortable with like you go to a website, you know how to navigate through it. It's easy to do things on your own. It's really not that. It feels very.
He's talking about how Nocti is really not that exciting.
But it's not the easiest end user experience. When it came time to doing like
I think he had a 50-50 pass-fail ratio. Of course, that was only 2 students.
they email you logins and keys, kids take the test, results are back really fast. I can't complain about that. They have a ton of options, courses, and varieties, and I thought the pricing was pretty good too. Maybe like $20 a kid or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just am not a big fan of their user interface in terms of English teaching.
I thought it was a lot. Every year we have apples in our class, and every year I always have to wrestle with geometrics and circuit board to get the Adobe to work on our computers because our technology it blocks down the internet. And I have to do all this stuff. Nocti, we took our free test on it. I went to the beta class, and all my kids passed, did great. The only thing they messed up on, they don't know how to do math. Like how
You mean new math or old math or any kind of math?
the rest of the test was just like what you learned in 81 on the foundations.
Yeah.
How to compose a shot, if somebody hired you, what questions should you ask, and stuff like that.
So that kind of brings us back to, again, why are we here? We want to get these guys to be successful adults. I think that's the bottom line.
That is definitely the
But
bottom line.
to sum up the crew, softball's coming up. What do we have for softball? That's one of our biggest crews.
That is so. Kind of thinking about in this specific session when we're talking about crew needs and things like that. I sort of broke down all the situations that we encounter where we need a crew, and I've got it broken down into classroom events because we'll have people like our principal wants us to stream the ring ceremony for the juniors. So I call that a classroom event. We've got auditorium level events where we need to transport ourselves over to the big 700, 800 seat auditorium. Those have some different requirements. We do outside events, in particular at the park. We do parades. We also do sporting events. We do talk show style events. And then we do, well, now I know some of you guys are probably getting pushed into doing daily announcements, or they've approached you about daily announcements. And that's something that he and I have kind of put our foot down about. Like, nah, that's that's not something we're interested in, and you're not going to tell us what to do, because if we leave, then this thing is gone. So you decide what you want on that one. But we have moved away from that, because if we focus on the daily announcement stuff, then my
So if
kids aren't
anybody's
able to
hiring in their
work.
districts, he may want to get with
Yeah.
you later.
My production, it was a nightmare, and it's the quickest turnover with our AV teachers.
Well, the thing that we're able to get around with that, and Eduardo did it, I've got a sound room back there with a beautiful mic, and they had a deadline to send stuff in, and he would go in there and he would pre-record the announcements, and then our system has the ability to just hit play, and they don't do that as much anymore, but they'll still do the pledges and stuff that he's already pre-recorded. So that was the trade-off.
The intercom system has
If he can go in there and pre-record it, and then he can quickly put it in Adobe Audition, I can send it out to them. That was okay, because that didn't take away. But I was finding that I couldn't focus in on anything else, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. Now we do have a studio over there where it's kind of set up for that sort of stuff, and we probably can start V-mixing that once I get some kids trained up in that. But the problem arises in that we didn't have these kids in middle school with the knowledge, and so that was killing a year or two of that for us. So we're still a little bit a ways from that. But anyway, so going back to our
stadium level events, softball. What do we have?
our equipment stuff.
Well, we bought some deer stands.
We did, and people thought we were crazy. We went to our AD and said, "Hey, will you buy us some deer stands?" And he looked at us like we had asked.
He said,
for
"Heck
a
yeah,
rocket
I'll
ship."
buy some deer stands."
So what we did is we put a deer stand on the first base side and the third base side, and then he welded a camera mount to each one of them, and so we were able to put camera mounts and cameras on the first and third base side, and then he and I spent some time running some cabling and some wiring all under, that yellow fence protector that prevents you from stabbing yourself on the cyclone fencing. On the inside of it's hollow, so we're able to run fiber and all this other stuff all the way around.
It does house a lot of wasps.
Yeah, they do. We were able to run that, and so now that we've got our trailer, we'll be able to park in center field and be able to connect with the press box and all that other business. But as far as crewing goes, at the very foundation, you only need one. It's just according to what you want to get out of the experience. And this kind of goes back to why I moved away from and didn't want to rely on the huddle business. Because when we don't live stream something, we always turn our huddle cams on, and you can see it, and it's got that beautiful fisheye, annoying little look on it, and you can't hear anything. You don't get to showcase the kids. You don't get to do anything as far as the extra stuff goes. So as far as crew goes, and we'll talk about softball because that's probably our biggest moneymaker. We have a first base camera operator. We have a third base camera operator. We have a behind the plate camera. We've got a commentary camera. We're going to add this year an over the shoulder pitcher to catcher camera in the outfield. And then we've got the scoreboard business going on. So softball for us takes quite a number of people to run it. But when I was doing it by myself, all I needed was the one camera. And people will watch it, but it is a wildly different experience when you're able to camera switch and you're able to get those close-ups, as he calls those, the
ESPN shot.
The ESPN shots, where we're able to cut to the pitcher who's pacing in the circle. We're able to cut to the face of the batter, and we're able to get that storytelling nuance. We're able to follow the base runner or get the da-na-na, na-na-na catch in the outfield and all that other business. And then for that, we're able to sell commercials, and we're able to sell stuff because the people in our community have seen the value in that they're not just watching a set, stable
Well, let me
camera.
clarify. We're able to get sponsors.
Well, sponsors. So tomato. But
IRS.
we're able to generate revenue for our program, for sure. That is a great question. I'm glad you asked him
I'll
about
say that we have packages that start at as low as $150 for something for one game to $12,000 if you want to buy the whole thing. But the most we get is a scoreboard sponsor, which they'll have a rotating ad that's built into the scoreboard. I think that's 750 a year for all the sports.
Um,
Where do y'all bring it? Just all in 1 year. Where do you bring it for the sports sponsors? Who do you think are the sponsors?
Oh, I think probably around 5,000 is where we're at. We probably could do more if we had better marketing people.
With the ads, where's that money go? Is it split between the athletic department? Does it go to the club?
he's adorable, isn't he? We don't share any money with the athletic department.
They don't share with us.
Because they don't share with us. Now, the beauty of where we're at, we have a great relationship with the athletic director, and we have had, and we communicate with them. And again, they have seen the value of what we're doing because the more eyes we put on their program, the better it makes them look. And so we've kind of sold that idea, and I think they've really bought into that. And
Let's hold that thought there. That's session 5. We can pick up and get some
Okay.
more details on that. But yeah, we can talk about how that works. Any more questions about? Oh, this is how you get people to come out. You have to give them a T-shirt. So as long as they have a,
Do you pay your kids? Is it cost credit?
well, we wanted to pay our kids. What are you laughing about? You didn't have to pay for a meal last year. We wanted to, but our previous CFO didn't think it was a good idea because then we'd have to pay the football players, and we tried to explain all that, and we're probably going to revisit that because I think they should be compensated to get them to show up. It's not like they're part of a team or whatever. Um, I know other schools do that. You guys, some of you, I know New Caney does. That's who I looked at.
Do you guys get compensated for your hours outside the classroom?
Well, do you know how a coach gets a stipend and they do a whole lot of stuff?
yeah, we
We fought for game day pay.
We're not all the way there yet, but yeah, we're getting there.
So the short answer is no, we don't work for free. The long answer is we do work for free because if I were an independent company and I charged what I normally would charge, you couldn't afford me. So
Currently, our argument is you get X amount to coach cross country, and you get an X amount for basketball and X amount for softball. Okay, well, we're doing all of those sports, not just one of them. But
So primarily, we get a stipend for football and softball, and then because I want the kids to get experience, we'll go and do some other things, especially if we've found some sponsors that will cover some of those things. Not for me particular, but for the program.
yeah, everything we get, and we'll talk about that later, but it goes back into the activity fund to buy equipment. That's
And so that's kind of part of the crewing needs. The more kids that I can show that are participating, the easier it is for us to kind of justify, hey, we probably need a couple more dollars. We had a couple of questions or comments maybe.
It's something that I'm kind of tossing around at the campus. It's something I gotta have a very, I guess, stringent criteria. But for y'all AV program, do y'all do, since y'all don't pay them like leather jackets or something for them?
they get a T-shirt.
We're not a UIL activity, so if the kids get a leather jacket, they can buy a hat.
Yeah, the good news is it's co-curricular, so if they fail, they can still participate because it's classroom based. Whereas with UIL and other things, they can't because no pass, no play. But if it's a classroom related activity, then yeah. But it's go ahead.
Would you like to have a therapy program, a therapy AV program all 4 years? And then you come with a leather jacket?
Well, the way it works here is
You don't have, no, it doesn't have to be like this. It's
yeah. In our school, the way it works is if your club or organization wants to pay for the jacket, then they can get the jacket. But the jacket's $70, and the kid had to spend $300 to get all the stuff on it. But yeah, come up with some rewards if you can't pay them. Feed them, give them a T-shirt. They get to get out of school sometimes early. They really like that. They get to yell at each other and not get in trouble. They like that.
Chris?
I was gonna add to the letterman conversation, so, I mean, there's a lot of legalities and loopholes tied to money and spending and things, and so
That's session
what
5.
me was, hey, if we will create a student club,
Hmm.
which is the AV club, and then technically my classes don't operate my programs, the AV club does, and then I recruit from within those classes, and then that allows me to create like a metric that says, when you work these games, you earn these points. When you do away games, you earn more points. When you get these certain skills, if you're doing journalistic things for the news, and then you have to also compete in a certain activity or competition, and then when a kid gets certain number of points, I submit that to my AV director, and they letter to the event. Um, that also frees me up on things too, because if I have money in my student activity account, that's a completely different set of rules and purchases than my school district goes to a vendor for.
Yeah. So keep those thoughts. We'll definitely cover those in session 5.
I've seen a lot of comparing last year to this year. Last year there was not an incentive program besides just you're part of the cool team.
Right.
And then this year I have kids trying to earn that, because I have a handful of kids that aren't in sports, they aren't in band, they're not going
Right.
to have the chance, and they want one too, and they're fighting to get it.
Yeah. You give them graduation cords. That's what they want
Yeah,
here.
and like that's an easy thing to add too. Like I mean, it's a few bucks to add that per person to it.
So that is
What do you get out
a
of
beautiful
it?
thing as far as getting kids involved. Now I'm going to circle back to the actual crew stuff. As we're thinking about these things, the most important thing for you when you're thinking about crewing, at least in my opinion, is thinking about the event and thinking about those list of things and then what you personally are willing to do. So the final question is, if I agree to go cover an event, can I cover it if Eduardo decides that he's going to call me 2 minutes before and, hey, I have to go with mom to do something, I can't be there, can I still cover the event? And I always like to go and have a pre-plan for all of our events. So where am I going to put a camera? Do I need a kid there? Where am I going to put this piece of equipment? Do I need a kid there? And our maintenance guys coming in, they're actually installing.
Yeah, we told them we needed power for the trailer
Yeah, they're
a month
installing
ago.
a power source so we can leave our trailer permanently parked right there. And we were having to run cables and cords out of doors, and so he's doing an awesome job for us. So I apologize for that extra noise, but definitely need that. So anyway, what do you need? You need you for sure. So you have to know that no matter whatever you call, you're going to be there. And then what can you do extra beyond that? And now Eduardo has never called me 2 minutes before an event, so I'll just use that as an example. I love you, Eduardo.
Also, if you're doing a football game, it helps if they know a little bit about what is football.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that was the next point. Is a lot of my best camera operators had no idea about the event, so we had to
So
spend
Eddie,
a little
Eddie
time.
asks, so how many outs do they get? No, that's football, not baseball.
We have to spend some time at the beginning of the school year and cover whatever sports and kind of go over some basics so they can learn to anticipate, because we're a smaller school, so I do share with choir and band and football and all these other events, and so really some of my better ones, intelligence wise, that could do it are engaged in the activity that I could be having them film. And so we had to go through with our crew, and for football, we had to talk about what a first down was. Okay, what does it mean to follow the ball? What does it mean a quarter and halftime and all
Yeah.
this other business?
And what do we
because-
want to see? The back of their helmet?
Oh yeah, and for us, we had a big influx for our Hispanic community, which is beautiful for us. And a lot of our Hispanic friends wanted to participate, and I love it. But they had no clue about American football or other things. They were great camera operators, and so I had to teach them the game. And then once we kind of taught them, it went very well. And so when we first started off, Eduardo was having to translate, and then I would say to him, and then he would translate, and then we did all that other stuff. So that was another kind of crewing issue that we had to overcome. But moving forward, it really turned into a beautiful thing, because as we turned over the reins to the students, and he and I kind of backed off a little bit for crewing, it became, hey, Eduardo, we're doing this event, get us some people. Victoria, we're doing this event. Find some people that don't mind you yelling at them. So we got these things together, and so it became less stressful for us. And then if people were going to comment, I would say, don't tell me. I'm not the producer. You need to tell Eduardo. You need to tell Tori. You need to tell somebody. And then it's up to you. If you're scheduled for this event, it's up to you to find your backup, not me. And now that we've got almost everyone in the class, now it's tied to grades. So if you call no show, what you're really saying is you want a 0 for a test grade or some other thing.
And I will say it helps to do the mixing if you have like ADHD. It's a lot easier.
Oh, for sure. So
How do you schedule your kids?
that's a great question. At the very beginning of the year, I created a Google slide, not Google Slides, Sheets. There we go. I created Google Sheets, and I went through and I pulled all the events that I thought we were going to cover, and I created tabs for them, and then I listed the kids down there. And then the first thing that I did was I allowed them to sign up for the events. And then if I didn't get enough, then I would say, okay, you didn't sign up for this, so you have to do at least 2 or 3 or whatever this event is. And then I had to go back through, like we had a bunch of band kids, so they couldn't do anything for football. So the trade-off was, okay, you're not doing any live events in the fall, you're going to cover most of them in the spring. And then I had some baseball kids or some soccer kids who could do all the fall stuff, but they couldn't do any of the spring stuff. And so we had to front load them here and there with that. And
But
so
it's
they know from early
the ones
on.
that don't do anything are the ones that
Right. And then
this is their thing.
The third thing that we had to overcome was the kids that were just so willing and so able.
That they showed up when we didn't invite them.
Well, they showed up, but from more of a logistics standpoint, and I don't want to be ugly about anything because I
No.
love my beautiful kids, but some of them, they didn't have the capability to problem solve. They didn't have the capability to fix things on the fly, and it turned into more work for he and I because we would have to handle.
And that's not the best teaching environment.
Right, and we can't, during a live event, you're problem solving constantly, and so how would I let those kids participate without having to whatever? So we came up with the cord guy. So I had a couple of kids that could show up. They couldn't do anything, but like we had some track cameras, so we moved the camera down on the track for football, and Eddie was down there on the 20-yard line, and we had someone else on the opposite 20, and we'd get cross coverage, but we needed a way for the cheerleaders to not run over the cords and stuff, and so we had a cord guy. All you got to do is be smart enough to stand there and don't let people run over the cord, and that allowed some of
He
our
only
kids
did that
to
one
participate.
game, right? They didn't come back after that.
No, 2 games. We
Oh.
did 2. So, and that's one of the variations when we go on the road. Sometimes you have to get creative with your camera placements, but we always want our kids to participate, but you have to get a little creative.
Logistics-wise, we had trouble transporting the kids.
Yes, and that was our other thing as far as crew goes. On the road, now we're in a good situation because I am the theater teacher, so I'm kind of running that line between fine arts and CTE, and then I also coach. So I'm also in that athletics world as well, so I've got great relationships with everybody. So we came up with a deal where when we travel, Eduardo and his assistant Alejandro ride with us, and they know how to put everything together, and then the rest of our crew will ride the band bus. And so when the band shows up, everything's kind of set up, and so they can kind of just run and get into place, and then they can help take down when the stuff is over with, and then they run and jump on the bus. And then set up and take down is a lot easier because then I don't have to worry about 10 kids doing 10 different things. I've just got him and another guy who kind of know my way, and they know that when Mr. Ewing takes his hat off and throws it, that we've done something wrong and we need to fix that thing. So that's really nice and easy. So from a logistical standpoint, that's something you're going to have to overcome is how do you get those kids there? Being in a small school, they kind of expect people to get CDL certified and things like that. But for us, that's not really something we can do because of our trailer. So I could get CDL certified, I could do that, but then he's left holding the bag with everything else or if he did it, I would be left holding
Well,
the bag.
before
if
the
it's just
trailer,
something we're
we
doing.
had to drive these vans.
Oh yeah, we'd take school vehicles, and that was fun. Except for our school district would use our school vans for other events, and then they wouldn't come back, and then we're leaving at 5 o'clock and trying to get set up for a 7 o'clock game that was an hour away, and that
And-
was
and
that
the
was not fun
flats.
at all. Oh yeah, and it seemed like every time we went somewhere, we'd get a flat. So that was all. We were on our way to one of the playoff softball games, and we got a flat, and so we did a live stream from the van, kind of castaway style, where we were hoping for people to stop and pick us up.
But they didn't. They had to bring a tire from Liberty.
It's kind of a fun
It was
situation.
a 290 and Beltway 8.
But as far as that goes, I don't know your situation in particular, but if I were you and I were thinking about my crew needs, step number one would be, can you do it if no kid shows up? Step number two, do you know the layout of the location? And if you got there late, could you immediately get to all the points that you're going to cover? And then number three, if you've got kids that are willing but are kind of unable through whatever reason, how can you incorporate those kids in there? And we're all sort of in that same boat there. You've got different equipment, you've got different kind of kids, and I know you Beaumont guys, you probably don't share a whole bunch of kids with other programs. You might, I don't know. Hardin, I know you're going to share kids with everything under the sun, and they're going to forget to tell you that they've got an A, B, C, D, E, F, G competition the day of something, and so you're going to have to kind of overcome that sort of thing. And then, John, you're at the middle school campus, so you may not have a relationship with the high school kids if you're trying to use them, and then vice versa.
Forget about this. How many kids work on your crew, like a football game?
So football game, if we are totally crewed up, and we generally are totally crewed up, so I'll go over our setup for football. We're at the top of our press box, and it changes on the road because we take less. But for a home game, we have 3 cameras topside, and then we have 2 cameras in the stadium. And then we also have a PTZ camera that we have. We have a commentator camera. We have a scoreboard camera. And then this next season, if we can get it figured out, we're going to add our drone camera pregame, postgame. So that's a number of
Shit.
cameras.
Wireless and all that fly line once it's all out.
No, that's why I say pregame.
I couldn't even fly for the game.
Well, that's a fluid matter that we can discuss on the Facebook group, because there's some professional operators that have their license, and the UIL changed some rules. The FAA has rules, but they don't apply to high school level. It's just collegiate and professional. So the main thing is not flying over people. Our football team has a drone that they fly for practice, and they have a tripod they put it on and use it for the end zone camera. And the new DJIs have that capability to be docked on the tripod. But I think that's going to change, and that's a topic we can have probably to a further workshop for sure.
My cameras, 50 and the 30s.
No, they're all right next to each other on the 50-yard line.
Well, there's
so,
2 up top, and
Well,
then we do have the
yeah.
30s down in the stands.
So we've got a wide and a tight. Yeah, in the middle. Yes, and then like I said, we got that commentator camera that we come at us with, and then we've got those 30 ones down there. And really, in that Facebook group, when I saw that guy, I am super, super desirous to add the pylon cameras. And once I can figure that out, that's going to be a thing.
So what we're going to add, we have the thing about the gimbal and the vest and all that, we have a wireless setup. We just don't have the right operator or equipment to make it work. But we want to have that sideline camera, and I built another kit like this. It'll be on the sideline, so we can bring in multiple things down at the field level, which is what we've been lacking these past 2 years, is having that field level experience, as well as an end zone camera probably. But you can add as many as you want, but everything you add is just more work and more people to set it up. And when you're looking at 6 cameras, which one's the best, and then replay on top of that. So I guess the more people you have, the more you can add. But minimum crew of about 5 good ones and up to 10 or more depending. VMix supports a replay.
Yeah.
Is that
We,
a student who's running VMix or?
well, we're
We don't
not-
know because I've never had enough time to get it working.
We're not to that point yet. We've got the capability, but because of the youthfulness of our program, we started with a whole bunch of juniors and seniors, and so now we had to kind of cycle back, and hopefully now I've got the mechanism in place that some of our freshmen and sophomore will stay. But again, we share with a lot of programs, and so it's kind of hard to do that during football because some of our best
The
people-
goal is to do some replay for softball. It just really takes 2 people, one to do the technical director, and another person to run replay. I think.
All right. So when were we going to? Are we going to go out now to look?
We're
at
going
the
to go out
trailer?
now, and we're going to be back around 1:15. It says.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this session off. We'll go. You want to go out this way or go out that way?
Either way, wherever
Okay,
we park.
so we'll kind of go and take a look.
If
at
you want to look at the
and
trailer, we
head
can run
to-
by real quick
head
if
to
you're
lunch.
leaving for the day.
So we will be back at approximately 1:15 for our afternoon session, and we'll see you then.
And for those of you here.